Put yourself in a judge's shoes. They're seeing a lot of talented people, but you hold up a painting or you hold up a little merry-go-round, you hold up, it instantly shifts to make you more memorable in their eyes. That combination is where you win. There she is.
Hey.
So Melanie is from the Miss World America pageant, representing California.
Woo-hoo.
California. Like, are you in California now?
Yes, I am. Native, born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that's where I am right now.
Got it. And it's coming up. Like, when is the actual pageant?
So we literally just kicked off our influencer challenge, which is leading up to the pageant itself. I believe it is October 1st. It's a series of webcasts. So some are pre-recorded, some are going to be live, but all access passes are being sold right now. You can actually get early bird passes. I'm just going to put this plug in here. Early bird passes until Thursday for just $10. So yeah,
there you go. I love it. So how can I help? What do you got?
Yeah, so lots of things going on, I'd say, right now in the world. But really something that's been near and dear to my heart has been talking about mentorship, which is we have this thing called a Beauty with a Purpose project. So what that is for the Miss World America system and just organization, for those of you who may not be so familiar with it is essentially what you hear in other pageants as being called a platform. It's a platform service. It's the community cause that we really, really deeply care about. And for me, that is just overall mentorship with the purpose specifically, if we're going to get a little specific with it, being able to empower women into the leadership roles and having equal access to opportunities, gender representation in leadership roles. Just to give a little quick tidbit about it, 29% in the US of females in executive leadership roles, and then globally, 23%. Now, I feel like there are more women than that in the world. So we want to make sure that that is equally represented in a lot of our leadership positions. Yeah.
So next is why, right? So like big numbers are awesome. It's great to know that you came prepared. And that's a good headline, right? 29% in America and 23% worldwide. Great. America's ahead of the world, but we're still way behind where we should be.
Yep.
What does that lead to? Like what's the implication of it? Still in the macro level before getting to your kind of story and why this means so much to you. So like, who cares? Like, why this instead of the rainforest or puppies or something else, right? Like,
yes, well, I do care about the rainforest and puppies too, for sure. Volunteer at the animal shelters.
Puppies.
No, it really... So it's a big deal. Actually, just literally an hour ago, led a diversity, inclusion, and belonging training for my company, Cruise. We're building self-driving cars out here in San Francisco. And really one of the things that I wanted to take home with the new hires that I was working with and talking to really was just about the fact that when you have a diverse set of people, that is going to bring you a much better product. It's going to make it much more inclusive for the people who are, working with you. Let's just say like a work example, right? You're just going to have a much more inclusive thing that's going to be surrounding this product. And for example, there's been some examples. There was a company who created a video streaming site, and not to throw any shade at all, but really just to kind of point out the fact that inclusion and having a really diverse background of people to create something is going to be really important. So in this case, they uploaded and just brought out their product to market. The entire team of developers was right-handed. So 5 to 10% of videos are uploaded upside down because they did not take into account left-handed people. So it sounds kind of like a funny example, right? But that's just a simple example of showing how when you don't have a diverse group of people creating something, whether it be a team, a company, a product, an organization, a mission, these things are not going to encompass what everybody really needs to see. So in taking into account women in leadership, it is extremely important that we have, women make up 50% of the world. It's important that we have those perspectives because it is going to make us more well-rounded, and it's going to create better opportunities for future generations to come.
Got it. Okay, so the structure, because you make it, I know your pre-recorded video is already in, but you still have to do the interview with the judges, right?
Yeah.
The structure and answer, I love that you're starting with the big number, which is fantastic. I've done maybe 8 or 9 of these already with your sisters or pageant sisters, and nobody led with the numbers. So it's great that you're already kind of leading with the big number.
It's important. It so much is.
next is still on a high level. What does that mean to the economy, to America, to our freedom, to like whatever it is? Like if there's a Harvard study or a Stanford study or Yale or something showing that, hey, when women are involved in the process, here's what great things happen.
Yeah. So,
right? Do you have something?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of a specific example. I don't know if I necessarily have like a specific case study I can think of right on this moment.
That's fine. Next time. Like this is the warm up. This is practice. Yeah. Right. But
for sure.
Knowing that in advance to say, hey, according to Harvard, so 29, 23, awesome. Construction happening here.
Very nice.
It's a day. According to Harvard, when women are involved in the process, X happens. And when they're not, Y happens. Just so that it's not just you and your opinion, which we want to get to, but it's, hey, this is actually a really, really big deal, and people have recognized that it's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then when you're telling your story, your example, left-handed, right-handed doesn't fit into this model as well as, because you don't want to just, you're trying to help women, right? Like your number is 29 versus 23, so telling a story about left-handed, right-handed doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, not super aligned, kind of in the same ballpark, but not quite playing the same game.
And there's got to be like tons of examples in exactly what you're doing, right? There's got to be tons of examples of women, being passed over and what happened, or women when they were included in projects, what happened, right? So the big number into Harvard or Stanford or the impact of this, and then an example. And then do you have something from your own? Like, why do you care so much about this?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I mean, I wanted to be everything under the sun, from anything from an engineer. Like I loved writing those merry-go-round carousels when I was younger. And I thought it was so cool. Like, how did they create this, right? Mechanical engineering. These were things where it's like, I want to know how to build that. I want to know how to do that. But in my life, in my circle, and the way that I grew up, I did not have access to seeing those role models, and they weren't readily available for me either. It's not like you just, see female mechanical engineers maybe like walking down the street and you're like, hey, I want to be just like you. You don't see them in the news making headlines. So because of this, now I grew up, I feel like very blessed and very fortunate, and I had an amazing family, and I have no complaints, right? But at the same time, like, I feel that there was a lack of access to certain resources that could have brought me into a different career path, right? Or even, just going beyond myself. I have plenty of friends who also told me like, yeah, when I was younger, I really wanted to be like, and the people who study the ocean, I think an oceanologist, that doesn't sound right, but something like that, right? So it's like, all these different, I'm not quite sure the exact specific name of it, but there's all these different occupations and all these different things. It's like where we don't see people like ourselves represented. And because we don't see that, it makes us think that we can't do it. And because we feel that way, that self-confidence isn't built. And if you don't have that foundation from when you were young, it's very difficult to be able to get that later on in the future. I mean, it's very possible, very, very possible. But you're just going to have to work a little harder to find those resources when maybe they may be lost in a sea of other things. So that personally for me is what I've experienced. And, I today, like one of my greatest goals along with mentorship and empowering women to be able to get those opportunities that they deserve, but also to be able to find the resources that they each individually need.
What would be great is to get to a specific moment in your life, whether it's you or one of your friends or something in the news, like whatever struck to say, wow, I need to be active here. Like something specific to say, this happened to me, as opposed to the people can get the general, right, of, hey, there aren't enough women, so people, can't see the mechanical engineers, all that. But like the specific emotional point for you where it felt like this is actually a big deal and I need to play a bigger role in fixing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's great advice. Thank you.
Can you think of a specific moment where that really felt like this matters to you?
I really think then I just have to go back to the one that I touched on briefly, which was just, you go to Pier 39, which is, the most fantastic, fun little area in San Francisco when you're a kid. And you see this merry-go-round and you want to go on it. And you do, your parents pay the whole $5 it takes to write it for 3 whole minutes. And then you go a couple times and you think, wow, this is amazing. You know, how is this built? How is it that I can do this so that I can ride the merry-go-round forever, right? If I create my own, then I can just take a ride on it whenever it is that I want. Mm-hmm. But it was in a moment like that where it's like I look at the people who are fixing the machines, right? And I don't think the most glamorous job in the world, I admit, but when you're a kid, that doesn't matter at all. Yeah. But you see the people that are going out and fixing the machines, and they're always men. So it's like, oh, this is a man's job. This isn't something I can do.
And was that something that a voice in your head, or did your parents tell you that, or that's just you telling yourself?
That was me just telling myself that, because my parents told me I could do anything I wanted. But without seeing people like me who were doing those things, how could I envision that for myself? Mm-hmm. I'm very much a person I learn by seeing, and I'm a visual learner. I know that through and through. But if it's something where it's like in the best of my learning, especially when I was really young, and I don't see those things, it's like, how can I envision that for myself?
Yeah, cool. I like it. Like if you watch the political debates, you'll see they always lead with some big, like they're going to talk about the economy. The economy is terrible right now. And they'll throw up a whole bunch of stats. Right? Manufacturing is down, and this is up, and this is down, and this is why everything sucks, right? Mm-hmm. So like big numbers to make you feel, holy cow, this is a big deal. And then they'll bring it down to one person's case. Yep. I was meeting Amy last night in Cleveland, Ohio. And Amy's, a single mom of 3 kids. And she's telling me that she lost her job in manufacturing. And then it goes like, it's just one person, but it makes it tugs in the heartstrings. So the macro big picture of the numbers and the data helps me realize, holy cow, this is a big problem. But then the personal part of it brings me in to care a little bit more. And that combination is where you win. So if you're saying 29% of executive positions are held by women in the US and 23 worldwide, and then, Harvard study, Yale study, whatever, why that means so much. And then you tell your story. And I relate to this myself. When I was, I don't know how old you were, 9 years old, and I went to the pier and I wanted to ride the merry-go-round and just create my own and ride it forever. But then I saw it was only men working on these things. And even though my parents supported me, and even though I had nothing but love around me, the voice in my own head said, you can't do this, because when I looked around, it was all men. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like it's a one-off example that doesn't mean much, but it's you and your story. So it means everything tied to the bigger picture of why this is such a big deal.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I totally resonate with that. It makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good structure when you're talking to, if one of the judges, they're going to ask you some kind of question around that, like why this cause, or why do you care so much about this? And there'll be some variation of it. And that kind of structured answer will, having them love you on top of the big heart and everything else that you've already got going for you. Now I would think about too, your actual, because it's remote, this is a different competition compared to usual. Think about the visuals for your setup. So obviously you're going to do, hair, makeup and all that. And I'm not going to coach you on that stuff. But the visuals, like if you had a sign or something that said 29% or 23%, or like a little merry-go-round figurine or something that you can hold up and show, like this is, I remember being this little girl on that merry-go-round. Just props, visuals that you couldn't necessarily bring on stage in a normal kind of competition, but this is unique. Even paying attention to what's behind you, like do you want to have something on the wall or not? Artwork on the wall or not? Like your hero, like I don't know who your biggest woman hero, executive is, or any heroes that you love. You love Maya Angelou, or you love whoever. Making it not be loud and crazy and just like tchotchkes all over the place, but that's what the judges are looking at. And normally you can't control the environment because you're on stage and they've set up the environment for you. Now you get to do it from home and you get to control the environment that you're in. And so having, whether there are awards that you have behind you, plaques and medals or newspaper articles, they may ask you about that, right? It's like, hey, what's that thing what's that little gold thing that you've got up there? Or why is there a picture of Maya Angelou behind you? And then you've got this fantastic story to, be able to share about it. So just like my office here, all these, that's me and my parents, and, all these people kind of mean something to me. And there's a story with each of them. As soon as you come on camera and you start talking to them, they're instantly, judging your presence and the words you're saying. But in the spaces in between, they're looking at everything kind of around you. So if you're going to be sitting right there, it's not that much work. You just have 2 corners and figure out how you want to best show up. Is there anything that comes to mind for like prop or stuff to put in the background that connects to your story?
Yeah. I actually have a few awards from a variety of different things I've done. One of them that comes to mind was actually one that I just put out because I wanted to actually hang it up, was a award for being an MC. Not really an award, but more of a recognition for being an MC for a conference. There's a conference that I spoke at earlier this year in January called Imagine Talks. And it is kind of a spinoff of TED Talks. And it's related to the organization that I am involved in and was previously Miss Asian America for, just actually passed off my crown to the next girl. So that is something that I feel is impactful just because it's a little thing, right? Like it's a little thing there, but it is something that really speaks to something I'm passionate about, which is, being able to speak about things that are important to me and matters are important, and being able to host and MC different conferences that are inspirational and give people encouragement and motivation. Other things I think of is I am a acrylic painter. So I enjoy very much painting. That's actually my talent for this year's pageant. I think they actually made an exception for it because typically it's like singing, dancing, an instrument. I painted. So I painted something in 5 minutes very, very quickly. And that is probably some of the artwork that I'm planning to put up. I'm planning on creating a few more pieces. Do you want to see one of my pieces?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay, let me go grab it really quick. All righty. So this is actually sneak peek for everyone who's watching. This is what I painted for the talent portion for our nationals. So it's a little simple one, I'd say. But
in 5 minutes you did that?
I did. It was very fast. Christ. It was extremely fast. But it's something I'm really proud of because, I mean, to me, roses are one of my favorite flowers. They represent elegance, but they represent, being able to protect yourself with thorns, right? That may kind of hurt people sometimes at some points, but you also have to, it's something that protects the flower itself, right? And I think just the symbolism in that is so beautiful to me. So roses,
I like
painting.
It. So even
awards
right now,
of being an MC, things that come up.
Held up the prop, it shifted the mood. Like you instantly became more memorable. Not that you weren't with everything else, but put yourself in a judge's shoes. They're seeing a lot of talented people all day long, same angle, same face, but you hold up a painting or you hold up a little merry-go-round, you hold up, it instantly shifts to make you more memorable in their eyes. So the painting is great, whether it's on the wall behind you or if you have something that you've done that is even that's taking longer than 5 minutes to put together. Although I don't know how you did that in 5 minutes. That's crazy. But if there's something you're proud of to put on the wall behind you that people can see, even saying something like you like being the face of representation, in that painters have never been in, that painting has never been one of the accepted talents, and now you were the first to have that be allowed, right? Even though it's not the woman angle, it's still, this is part of your passion, is trying to, for everybody now who's been a part of it in the past, people who would look to the show and say, oh, to qualify, I have to be in one of these 3 categories. But now painting is being recognized as a talent, which is another fantastic part of the story.
Absolutely.
Somebody's mentioning Ginsburg here in the chat as well. Another example of like female representation. I don't know how that ties into your presentation, but it could, because it's super timely and news related. They're not going to pick somebody before you have your competition. So your thoughts on that, the importance of Ginsburg, should they put another woman in place? Like, she's the only one who's a woman, right? On the Supreme Court. Yes. So like super timely. So you might even get asked about that. So having a little bit of facts and just knowledge about the history and on all that would be great. But that could also be part of what you bring into the conversation even some kind of example of there's people saw Ginsburg and then became lawyers, became judges.
She was definitely a huge role model. I actually have friends who have posters of her in their wall as well. And I am honestly thinking of getting one myself just because of the impact that she made, right? And no, I can totally relate to that.
If you really relate to it, then you could. Like you could have a poster on the wall behind you, and then you can pretty much guarantee they're going to ask you a question about it. Like, hey, I see Ginsburg behind you. Why is it up there? And then you have some kind of story to tell. If you've been impacted by her, or if you could tell a story about your friends, my friend became a lawyer because of Ginsburg, or my friend did this because of Ginsburg, or what America should do next. Like, we need to have another woman on the Supreme Court to represent us. How many of the laws that were enforced, yes, there's Democratic in Republican lines, which is what most people look at, but just on the woman line, how much of an impact was it for her to be on there? So arming yourself, you don't have to know it now, but arming yourself with knowledge on it could be anything that ties into like culture right now, right? Like on our thing, I told the story of Lieutenant Uhura and Whoopi Goldberg and Martin Luther King. Yeah. And it's a good story, but it's decades ago, right? Anything that ties into right now is super, super powerful. And that might be the biggest, I don't know if there's something bigger right now for women representation in America. Is there? I'm Canadian, so I don't know.
No, definitely Ginsburg is one of the number one topics at the moment. I honestly, and right now in this moment, can't think of anything larger than that topic for women representation. It's definitely a hot topic.
Yeah, and it's not like executive. It may not be the 23% that you shared about executives in corporate America, but it's the same problem. It's the same issue, right? And having stats and data and opinions on that will serve you so much better with the judges and with your cause than like the left-handed, right-handed example.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right with that.
And it won't take you long. I mean, in an hour, you can have tons of research on her and know it doesn't mean you have to go spend the next, week diving deep unless you really want to. But of all the people, like this has also been part of what I've been talking to your pageant sisters about is how do you make it relevant to what's happening right now? And some have a hard time. It's like, oh, there's nothing in the news right now that is timely. So we kind of have to not make something up, but just talk about trends, macro. But yeah, you're fortunate that this is actually, like it just happened yesterday, the day before, right?
Very recently.
This is, I know, and we'll still be in discussion because they're not going to pick a winner until after your pageant is over. So you've got, you're super fortunate that there's this thing happening. Like it's in the public discourse right now in America. And your opinion and leadership, because part of it is saying, hey, if you win, you're going to be on radio shows and TV shows and podcasts. You're representing the brand. So it's good for you to have an opinion and to be the voice of Miss World America and the voice of, young women in America, for you to be the role model and to say, hey, here's what matters for us. And so the judges are definitely looking for, we need somebody to represent our brand well. And if we give you a bigger voice and a bigger microphone to spread, what is the message going to be? And seeing how you can tie it into timely things could mean you're on Good Morning America.
Very true.
Yeah.
Definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think it's a great angle. If you can get emotionally attached to it, I think it's a great angle that the judges will appreciate.
Sounds good. Thank you for the advice, Evan.
Cool. All right. Well, good luck on the competition. I'm pumped to see how you do. I love the story. I love the heart, and cheering you on.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Amazing. Much love.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.
Bye.
If you want to see another awesome one-on-one I did with an entrepreneur just like you, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.